Alright. We are back. At least I hope so. Last weekend, apparently I ran out of power in the camera. Then when I went to go ahead and upload what little bit I had shot, YouTube was giving me problems. So it's been a fun couple of days, or a fun week. So one of the things I said in the last video was my old XL hobby knife. I'm hoping you can see it right there. I've been using it now for nearly 30 years, and it's pitting and whatnot on the end. Although I do have a new X-Acto gripster. I've had it for about 2 years, and it's, in good condition and whatnot. One, I don't care for black. Two, it actually has a slip grip. So I went ahead and ordered a new one, and it actually showed up a couple days ago. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of the card, or pull it off of the card. And it was one of those, I got a pretty good deal on eBay, and but it was a case where they chose the color. So green it is. And although this one does have a slight slickness to it, it grips better than this one does, than the X-Acto. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be keeping, well, I'll keep both of them no matter what, because I like going ahead and having various knives with various different blades set ready to go, which is part of the reason why I've got this nice kit here of different blades and whatnot, different handles, but they're all metal handles, so I don't necessarily like using too much. Last weekend I was going to go ahead and take more parts off the sprues and whatnot and work on them, but I was out of my squadron sanding files, so I went ahead and went to my local hobby store. They did not have any of the squadron brand, and I like the squadrons because you've got so many different, well, here's the package that I ordered online actually, and it actually has one of each of their coarsenesses. Try saying that fast too many times. Anyways, going coarse, medium, fine, extra fine, and tri. So it does an excellent job, and it certainly allows me the ability to go ahead and sand and then, smooth it out. This was the only thing that the other hobby store had that I went to. I didn't expect the squadron products to actually show up when I went ahead and made the online purchase on was it Amazon or eBay? I've done so much purchasing here recently, I don't know which. Anyways, they were saying that it wouldn't be in until sometime next week, but it actually surprised me and came in on Friday. So I'm not going to complain. If anything, I'm going to give the company an excellent review and thank them and praise them to high heaven, if you know what I mean. So, anyways, last time I was here, I'd gone ahead and, let me get the paintbrushes out of the way. I went ahead and started working a little bit, on dumping model paint jars all over the place. Started working a little bit on, and hopefully you can see this. Thinking you can. If not, I apologize. Playing a little bit. And let me go ahead and make sure that this is at the appropriate height. Let me pan it up just a little bit. Oops. There we go. The camera that I'm using is a GE DVX model that I picked up a few years ago. It looks, as far as size goes, it looks like an old flip cell phone as far as thickness and whatnot and height. I mean, it's about that tall, about that thick. And it does nice HD quality, but unfortunately there's no front screen on it, or there's no screen that I can turn anyways. The only screen there is on the back. So anyways, I went ahead and gave down a quick little paint of primer. The floor area here of the cockpit will be painted black. The research that I did indicated that it was done in black. The pedals for controlling the rear rudder, they're also the ring around them, if you will, the edging, and whatever you want to call it, is black, but the middle area is a steel type color. You know, kind of washed out a little bit. So that'll ultimately get done with that. The two seats, although I haven't finished them up, the base, if you will, that the cushion sits in is one color of gray. The seat itself is a different. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to texture the seats a little bit better. Well, you probably can't tell. There's no real texture. It's pretty smooth in there when you move your finger over the top of it. So I'm going to go ahead, and I do have some velour flocking that I picked up a while back. And let me go ahead and grab it here off the shelf. Actually on the pegboard here. And anyways, the flocking is typically used for going ahead and doing like the floor of the cars and giving it a carpet that actually looks a little bit more real. And as it says here, until now, authentic looking upholstery was a challenge. Detail Masters has made this task easy for all of us to use with a variety of colors. Flocking is custom made for use, or for us. It has realistic finish. Well, I want to find out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to go ahead and put it on the floorboard of the cockpit, but I'm going to go ahead and try this in the seats. And to be honest with you, depending on which model I look at or which photograph I look at, it's either a white, a gray, a brown. It's one of those things where my research has shown various different colors. Of course, gray as well. So I may go ahead and take a look to see if I can get a matching lighter gray, and it looks like they do have one there. And there is phone numbers. It's out. The company's out of Rochester, New York. I've had this for a while, so I don't know if the company still exists, but it's detailmaster.com. So I'm curious to go ahead and give that a try in those seats to try to make them look a little bit more realistic. As I was showing, or attempting to show before, let's see, grab some more of these because they're good for holding things. I don't know how well you can see this or not, probably not. When they molded this model together, the right and left half of the models didn't line up properly. So they're a bit askew. So, you know, the top for the left hand side might be a little higher, and then the bottom of the right one might be a little lower. So I'm having to debate about how I want to go ahead and sand these. I will be going ahead and sanding them though, obviously. I also recently just got a hold of a bag of inkjet decal paper. So my hope, or what I'm wanting to do, is since this model does not have any instrument panel decals, and matter of fact, here is the instrument panel. I'm hoping you can see that there. There is detail there, but, and again, I'm hoping you can see it, but I'm not 100% sure. But I figured I'd go ahead and I'd take the decal paper, and I found some images of the Bell 222 instrument cluster there in the front, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to go ahead and get this to the right size and go ahead and print it up and lay it down on top of the instrument panel here. Also, one of the things that I mentioned in the previous video is I made mention of the fuel intake on the side of the ship. And for this particular side, I believe it was up here. I may be wrong. It might actually be this port here. And it was actually one of the side pieces on the other side, and I don't remember where it was. Oops. So I'll also go ahead and do those to go ahead and make it look a little bit more authentic, because as you can see on my old one from the 1980s, there should have been one right here. Yeah, there should have been one right there, but didn't exist. So, or as far as, I should say, the decal did not exist. Also, I want to go ahead and take advantage of some new paints that I picked up, and they're all downstairs for right now, but they're put out by Alclad, and it is their Hot Metal series, which will go ahead and help me simulate the the look that metal gets after it's been heated up and cooled down a few times. So that'll be used on the exhaust for the jet ports here, and also the engine exhaust up here. Not quite sure how much detail I'll be able to go ahead and put into it, but I'll put in some because, of course, these areas are pretty small. Anyways, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save the squadron and see what these new guys are like, and start to work on some sanding. Alright. Now, one thing, my vision is not as good as what it used to be when I was a kid, so one of the toys that I picked up, and I paid less than $10, is this visor. Those of you who know Steve Neal, when his broke a few years back, I actually got him a set of, I guess it was 2, or was it 3? I think it was 2. Anyways, these are under $10 a piece, at least the ones that I've got here. They're nice. They do have a light. The light, you can move the lens left and right, and of course you can move it up and down, as you can see here. You got the standard 2x magnifier. You got an additional drop down that you can go ahead and put into place, and then you got a monocle piece that you can go ahead and put in front. So actually works pretty good, and considering I've got my glasses on as well, that'll help bring things into focus. And a focus is a good thing. So let's see what we got here. And a springing she will go. Now these paint clip holders that I've got, you will notice, or you may notice, they actually have a rubber grip on the tips of them, which I gotta admit, I kind of like that. Prevents them from eating in to the model plastic. And one of the things I'm being careful to do is, yeah, I'll go ahead and sand down the flash straight on, but then of course, you notice here I'm kind of rolling it because that is not a flat piece there. It actually rolls over the edge. Remember, this is supposed to be a part of a wing here, so it's supposed to be aerodynamic. And I'm trying to go light on it, and I gotta admit, it's not really doing much as far as going beyond the flash, which I'm okay with that. Although that piece there, let's see, they will show up here at all. There's a little flash. You can hear that where it catches. So here's the one side, here's the other side. Like I said, didn't quite go out the way they planned for it, I guess. Okay, that's really smooth. That's definitely more coarse. So and of course, everyone that you go ahead and the hobby world probably has different techniques. I mean, you know, there's no one correct way to go ahead and do this all the time. You know, everyone's got their own variation. You know, I've been helping another friend of mine that I work with out at the college. He's been hinting at getting into model building after, you know, seeing what I've been up to. And he's been asking me about painting and whatnot, about airbrushing. And he wasn't planning on getting into airbrushing anytime in the near future. He was just looking at possibly going ahead and doing everything by hand. Which, okay, that's cool. And, you know, I told him as much. But I was looking for stuff online. I was looking to go ahead and get a second airbrush, and here's my old Badger, and I've had this now for some 30 years. I put the 25th anniversary Star Trek sticker that was in the Enterprise refit model that I picked up back at the 25th anniversary, put it into the box. But this is the original airbrush that I've had for many, many years, and it's in pretty darn good condition if you ask me. I've got the 2 of the 3 other needles underneath it, so I can go, you know, fine, medium, and large. The only thing that was ever bad was that the right above the foam area, if you will, it had some flocking on the top of it of some type, and it went to powder. So went ahead, pulled it off, and I had some green felt. So I went ahead and took the green felt and cut it out. Tried to get it to go ahead and match perfectly, which it doesn't, but it does a pretty good job. The only thing I don't have in the box here is the rest for it that would be going right here. The cutout is right there. But, so anyways, someone was selling, or a lady was going ahead and selling a duplicate of that. Had it on sale for $10 on eBay, plus shipping and handling. And the flocking on it was, you know, pretty bad condition, as well as the airbrush itself was pretty well covered up with the flocking, and so it you know, it could have looked a little bit better. And they said they didn't know if it still worked and whatnot. I was like, hey, for $10 I'll go ahead and give it a try. So ordered it from my friend out where I work, and showed up earlier the week and went ahead and tried it out and cleaned it up, and it seems to work pretty good. Air seems to flow through it pretty nicely. So he seemed to be real happy with the gift that I gave it to him. I found an extra box available on Amazon as well as on eBay, and I told him that the price was pretty good. One of them was like $9, the other one was like $14, and both sellers had multiples of them. So, and then I also give him a list of things that he might want to go ahead and consider picking up. With it being that old, of course, you know, things like the valve assembly may be needing to be replaced here shortly, and I'm keeping an eye on mine. Again, with it being 30 years of age, you know, who knows how long it'll last. Okay, there's that one wing like that. Actually, it's the other side. It's for that. So I'm going to go ahead and sand down the matching part over here, and then I'll go ahead and glue that together, and then I'll set it aside, and I will probably attach that. Probably will be one of the last things that I do after everything gets painted up and whatnot. Oops. Okay, there we are. Main thing is I want to get some, you know, some sub-assemblies done here, and want to try to go ahead and okay, because the way that's shaped, it's not wanting to hold, it's wanting to spring it out. And bottom half and top half just do not line up nicely. There's a nice little gap there. And there's still a gap. Okay, well, that's one of the things about sanding. Okay, getting closer. Trying to keep it flat. Slightly better. Almost. Just a little spot down there at the end. And it looks like where the sprue was at. And when it popped out, there we go. When it popped out, left a little divot in there, which, okay, that's fine. I can deal with that. I just don't want a misalignment, so that way only the bottom half of the wing there is, you know, cemented to the fuselage of the aircraft. That side, bottom of the wing looks okay. That side looks okay. That side there doesn't. This is where those two parts come together at. Now I'm not going to go ahead and force you guys to watch all of this. I'm only going to go ahead and film just a little bit more. That way you kind of see what I'm up to. And then I'll go ahead and then the next week I'll show you what all I have done. And go from there. That's not too bad. Kind of happy with that. Looks okay. That looks okay there too. Cool. Something else I was going to say. Other than maybe I'm thirsty. Don't recall. Anyways, with some of the photos that I found for this particular model, or I should say for Airwolf itself, I found that in my research for the model that the interior was actually done in white. I don't know if that was intentional on their part or what. I did contact Andrew Probert, who some of you may know from shows like Battlestar Galactica, Black Sheep Squadron. She's been, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. He did the Enterprise. He did the Vulcan shuttle in the movie. He's also responsible for some of the interior for the Enterprise D for Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But I contacted him because I wanted to go ahead and ask him if it was possible to go ahead and use some of the photographs of his artwork for the ship. And unfortunately I haven't heard back, which I do have some of his actual artwork that he's been kind enough to print up and autograph for me. All of it's been the Star Trek related stuff. And when he's not ultra busy, he's very good about getting back and, communicating with fans. There's a photograph of him actually with Airwolf after it's been built. Some of the photographs that are online show Airwolf at West Coast Customs, which is typically a car shop. But I don't know if that was when... I don't think West Coast Customs was around in the early 80s. So I think it may have been used for the gentleman who rebuilt, rebuilt Airwolf. As I'd indicated before, some of the parts had been, or the parts that had been added on to the Bell 222 were bought and auctioned on eBay. Anyways, here we have a couple of the add-ons for Airwolf after they had been taken off of her. I know I saw these parts appearing on eBay, as well as the chain gun standalone piece, which actually showed the chain gun opening up and the actual guns shooting forward, if you will, as they would pop out. Also the chaff pop-out device that would be on the side, which each of those were individual special effects, practical special effect pieces. I know that they were, like I said, sold on eBay, or attempted to be sold. Eventually they were picked up. Wait for the clock to finish. Eventually they were picked up by a collector, or a collector did ultimately get a hold of all those pieces And my understanding is that the collector was in the process of going ahead and reconstructing a Bell 222 with those parts on it. I think he's actually finished with it, and I think the helicopter is now in a museum. I do not know if she's flyable or not, but anyways, I know she exists again. But as mentioned before, Airwolf did go down after a successful rescue service, according to this article that's right here beside the image. So, but yeah, this is the image that I was looking for. So, back to the build. What I was about to do here is I'm getting ready to go ahead and cement the two halves together. And as you may or may not be able to tell there's a little notched in spot here. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe not. And there's a little